Ever stare at your bank account at the end of the month and think, wait, where did all my money go? Maybe you've got a solid job, you're working hard, but somehow you're still stuck living paycheck to paycheck. It's weird. Sometimes it feels like there's this big secret to handling money that everyone else got clued in on, except you. If any of this sounds familiar, you're in the right place. I'm Michael, and honestly, this video could be a game changer for you. I'm about to walk you through the exact paycheck routine that took me from having basically nothing to becoming my family's first millionaire. And here's the kicker. You don't have to increase your income to start. You just need a system. Look, let's break it down. Maybe you grab a $5 coffee on your way to work, drop $15 on a food truck lunch, spend $4 getting around, $2 on a little treat in the afternoon, and toss away another $1.40 on some random digital subscription. Do that every day and, no joke, you're burning through over $10,000 a year. $10,000. Gone. And for what? A bunch of little things you probably don't even remember. Most people live like this. As soon as they get paid, their money just evaporates into a bunch of mindless daily expenses. Why? Because there's no routine, no system. They're just winging it. I can't stress this enough. Being intentional with my money back when I was younger was the one thing that changed everything for me. I had nothing. No family money, no fancy degrees, just a stubborn belief that life could be different. So here's what I'm going to do. I'll lay out the 5 exact steps I took every single time I got paid. You can steal these moves and run with them. They help me build real wealth. And honestly, I think you can do even better. The best part? You don't have to grind any harder than you already are. This isn't about working more hours or chasing a bigger paycheck, at least not right now. It's about making the most of what you've already got. So, let's set the scene. You just got paid. The money's sitting in your account. What's your next move? Start by drawing a real line between your wants and your needs. It sounds easy, but honestly, most people struggle with this. We get so used to little comforts, things like fancy coffee every morning, takeout lunches, random app subscriptions we barely use, that we don't even notice how much they add up. Those small daily habits slip under the radar, but over time, they quietly eat away at your finances. It's like there's a slow leak in your wallet. Even if you think you've got this handled, just try it. You might be surprised by the stuff you find. Grab some paper or pull up a spreadsheet and make 2 columns, wants and needs. Then dig out your bank statements. Go back about 6 months. Look for patterns. Focus on stuff you pay for every month, not the occasional splurge. Ignore the one-offs unless you're dropping big money on random things all the time. The real problem is those regular, sneaky expenses, subscriptions, snacks, small weekly habits. Now, start sorting. Needs are the basics: rent or mortgage, utilities, essential insurance, groceries, and whatever transport you absolutely need to get to work. The bottom line? If you can survive and do your job without it, it's not a need, it's a want. The wants column is everything else: dinners out, hobbies, streaming services, gadgets, your daily takeaway coffee, all the fun stuff. Once you've sorted everything, add up how much each column costs you every month. Let's say your needs, rent, insurance, bills, groceries, come to $1,200 a month. That's your baseline. That's the minimum you need to live. Subtract that from your after-tax income, and now you know what you've got left for everything else. A lot of experts say your needs should be under half your income. But honestly, if you're serious about building wealth fast, Shoot for closer to 25%. And don't think your needs can't be trimmed. This isn't set in stone. Maybe you need a car to get to work, but do you need one that eats up $500 a month? Or could you get by with a solid used car for way less? Same goes for where you live. Sure, city center apartments are nice, but moving a little farther out could save you a ton. Or maybe you could share a place with roommates for a year or two. Stash away the savings and invest it. That could set you up to buy your own place sooner than you think. But hey, maybe you're already living lean and cutting back anymore just isn't worth it to you. That's fine. Financial freedom should feel good, not like punishment. Still, it's always worth checking if there's any fat you can trim without missing out on the stuff you love. And if you really can't cut anymore, then it's time to earn more. Go for that promotion, pick up a side hustle, whatever works for you. Because at the end of the day, there's a hard limit to how much you can save, but how much you can earn, that's wide open. I get it, trying to keep your basic needs under 25% of your paycheck sounds almost laughable, especially right now. And yeah, I know it can come off like one of those out-of-touch money gurus saying, just spend less. But I've been there. I didn't have a silver spoon. I worked those minimum wage shifts, and getting to the point where I could keep my needs to a quarter of what I earned took real time and effort. But honestly, if I managed it, you can too. Especially now with all the online side gigs out there that just didn't exist when I was scraping by. I'm not waving away how tough it is. I'm just saying, use that 25% rule like a target, something to aim for, not something you must nail right away. Now let's talk about your wants. Add them up. This is the fun money, your lifestyle spending. In a perfect world, this would also stay under 25% of your pay. Why? Because you want at least half your paycheck left over for what comes next, which is where things start moving you forward. So if you've covered your needs and wants, you're left with about 50% of your paycheck. That's your surplus, your fuel for building wealth. Next up, put that money to work. The first thing you should do is move a chunk, say 20% of your total paycheck, into a high-interest savings account. And here's a little trick. Use a bank that's separate from your day-to-day account. Makes it harder to dip in on a whim, which is exactly what you want. In the UK, Chase is a solid option. In the US, Ally Bank's good. When I say high interest, I mean whatever's good right now. My own account is around 4% a year, which blows away the measly 0.05% I'd get just leaving it in my checking account. Now I know someone's probably itching to comment about a 7% account they found. That's great. Just make sure you don't have to lock up your money for months and that the bank is actually safe. The point of this emergency savings isn't to make you rich. It's there so you don't go broke when life throws you a curveball. If you have to lock it away and can't touch it in an emergency, you're missing the whole point. I can't stress enough how important this safety net is. You've probably heard it a million times, parents, books, every financial video ever. But there's a reason it keeps coming up. It's essential. Life is unpredictable. At some point, something's going to go wrong. This emergency fund is your buffer. Say you get sick and can't work for a month, the car needs a big repair, or you lose your job out of nowhere. You won't have to panic or go into debt. But remember, this money is only for real emergencies, the kind that actually mess with your life. It's not there for a pizza splurge at the end of the month. It honestly surprises me how many people still don't have any emergency savings, about 1 in 5 Americans last I checked. If something happens, they're forced to take out high-interest loans or rack up credit card debt, which just makes things worse. So, how much should you set aside? A good goal is enough to cover 3 to 5 months of your bare minimum monthly expenses. If you can stretch that to 6 months, even better. Once you hit that target, you can stop adding to the fund and start focusing on the next steps. This is your foundation. Get it set, and you'll be ready for whatever comes next. Ideally, by now you've got about 30% of your paycheck left. You've covered your needs, your wants, and you've padded your emergency fund. So what do you do with the rest? Here's the thing. This next step is the only guaranteed return on investment you'll ever see. Seriously, if anyone ever promises you a sure profit on some investment, you should be running for the door. It's almost always a scam. But in this case, it's the real deal. Because I'm talking about paying off high-interest debt. Think about it. People chase an 8 to 10% return in the stock market, and there's no guarantee they'll get it. Meanwhile, you're probably paying 20% or more on your credit card debt. Every day that debt sits there, it's quietly draining your money. It's like asking for diet tips while you've got a tapeworm eating up all your nutrients. Any good doctor would tell you to get rid of the parasite first, because you'll feel better right away, and your health will improve. Same deal with high-interest debt. If you have anything like credit cards, payday loans, really anything over 8 or 10% interest, throw that whole 30% chunk of your paycheck at it until it's gone. There are two big ways people pay off debt. First, the avalanche method. This one's all about logic and math. You start with the debt that has the highest interest rate, no matter how big or small the balance. Here's what that looks like. Say you have 3 debts, $5,000 on a credit card at 20%, a $1,500 interest-free family loan, and a $2,500 car loan at 15%. You decide you can put $500 a month toward your debt. With the avalanche method, all $500 goes to the credit card first, because that interest rate is brutal. It'll take about 13 months to pay off, and you'll spend $515 in interest. Once that's gone, the $500 moves to the car loan, the next highest interest, which takes another 5 months and about $98 in interest. Finally, you hit the family loan. That's another 3 months, and since it's interest-free, you're just paying them back. Add it up, you're debt-free in 21 months, and you'll have paid around $613 in interest. The second way is the snowball method. This approach is more about psychology. You pay off your smallest debts first, no matter the interest, to build momentum with quick wins. So you'd knock out the $1,500 family loan, then the $2,500 car loan, then finally tackle that $5,000 credit card. But here's the catch. It takes 23 months, 2 months longer, and you'll pay about $1,700 in interest. That's over $1,100 more than if you'd gone with the avalanche. So, if you can, stick with the avalanche. It saves you time and money. Now, once you've got your safety net in place and your high-interest debt wiped out, you can finally use that whole 50% slice of your paycheck to build real wealth. This is where things get interesting. That's why the fourth step is opening a tax-advantaged investment account. Taxes are everywhere. Income tax comes right out of your paycheck. You pay sales tax when you buy stuff. There's property tax if you own your home, and even when you invest, you face capital gains tax. Honestly, there's not much I can do about most of those, but at least here, you've got some options. Here's the thing. There's a totally legal way to skip paying capital gains tax on your investments. If you're in the UK, go open a stocks and shares ISA. If you're in the US, get yourself a Roth IRA. They aren't exactly the same. Each has its own set of rules, contribution limits, and ways to withdraw. But the main point is this. Both let your investments grow without you ever stressing about taxes on your dividends or capital gains. Seriously, it's like a tax-free shield for your money. If I were in your shoes, I'd stash a solid chunk of my extra cash, maybe 35 to 40% of each paycheck, into one of these accounts every month. Then I'd drop that into a simple, low-cost index fund that tracks something broad like the S&P 500. This is exactly what I've done for years, and on average, I've seen returns of about 8 to 10% per year, and all of it is tax-free. Now, I'm not a financial advisor, so don't take this as gospel. This is just what's worked for me. Stocks go up and down, and just because something worked in the past doesn't mean it'll do the same in the future. Know the risks before you jump in. But really, think about how powerful this is. If you put just $250 a month into an S&P 500 index fund inside a tax-free account and get an average 8% return, in 45 years, you'd have more than $1.3 million, and you wouldn't owe a penny in taxes on it. Don't just take my word for it. Plug your own numbers into any compound interest calculator and see for yourself. I get it. This method is slow and steady. There's nothing flashy about it. But if you stick with it, if you're consistent over the decades, this has worked for a huge number of people. Personally, I like using Trading 212 for this. They make the stocks and shares ISA option really straightforward. Since I was already planning to talk about their app, I reached out to them and they agreed to sponsor this part of the video. They're even throwing in a free fractional share worth up to £100 for anyone who uses the code Tilbury when setting up an account. You can grab even more free shares by inviting friends. Both of you get one if your friend funds their account. Honestly, the best way I found to invest is to automate everything. You want to make it as easy as possible to stay out of your own way, because let's face it, we're usually our own worst enemies when it comes to money. Set up auto investing, and your money gets moved for you on a schedule you choose. Most of the time, you won't even notice. It just happens in the background. Then, one day, you check your account and get a nice surprise. My son actually ran a little experiment with this on Trading 212. He started putting away £5 a day, about the price of a daily coffee, into an S&P 500 index fund. After almost a year, he's put in £1,503, and now his investment is worth £1,707. That's a 13.68% return. And the wildest part? He completely forgot he was even doing it until I asked him the other day. He set up the auto invest, lived his life, and then got a great surprise when he checked the numbers. If you want to set something like this up, it's honestly pretty simple. Once you've opened your account and used the code Tilbury for your free share, just go to the portfolio icon, click on Pies, and hit Create a Pie. Want to copy my son's setup? Click Build a Custom Pie, then Add Instruments, and search for S&P 500. You'll see a bunch of options. Different companies offer funds that track the same index. I like Vanguard the most. They've been around forever and have a great reputation. Your granddad probably knows their name. I also pick the accumulation fund version because it automatically reinvests your dividends for you, which just means your money keeps compounding without you having to think about it. Just click on the fund, add it to your pie, and hit that little arrow. Then click Next. Don't forget to turn on Auto Invest before you move forward. Now you can pick how many years you want to keep investing automatically, how often you want to add money, and how much fits your budget. Honestly, the longer you keep that auto invest running, the better your chances get. You won't make a profit every single year. Some years, the market's just going to be down. But if you stay in for over 10 years, your odds of success go way up. The app even gives you a projection of your core value based on historical data. My son's beating his projection right now, but hey, don't get carried away. Nobody really knows what the stock market's going to do in the short term. You can build more complicated pies with a bunch of individual stocks if you want, but for almost everyone, I think it makes way more sense to stick with a broad index fund. Keep it simple. I used to look at long-term passive investing almost like an insurance policy for becoming a millionaire. Sure, your money's always at risk in the market, but that's how I saw it. I wanted to hit that $1 million mark one day, and even if all my businesses crashed and burned, I figured I'd get there eventually, just by investing consistently, even if it meant being old and gray when it happened. Turns out, I reached my first million a lot sooner through business and side hustles. But I never stopped putting money away for the long term while I was building those businesses. I did both at the same time. Now here's the fifth and last place you can put your money. High risk, high reward stuff. This isn't for everyone. If you're cool waiting years to make your first million with the steady index fund route, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It works. But if you're anything like I was when I was younger, you'll be impatient. You'll want to speed things up. Most people you see online are either teaching you the slow and steady way, consistent investing, or the fast lane, where you take bigger risks hoping for a bigger payoff. Honestly, I've walked both paths at once. My advice? Take 5 to 10% of your paycheck and use it to start a side hustle or even a business. You might think that's not much and feel tempted to skip the slow investing altogether, but I disagree. When you have less money to throw around in the early days, you get more creative and resourceful. You can't solve problems by just tossing cash at them. You're forced to think your way through, spot gaps in the market, and come up with clever solutions that most people with a pile of startup money just never see. Necessity really is the mother of invention. And with the last 5% of your paycheck, or a small slice of your risk money, I'd go for the riskiest play, cryptocurrency. I haven't talked much about this because, yeah, it's controversial and super volatile. But there's no denying crypto's getting more popular and accepted every year. I've got about 5% of my investments in Bitcoin and Ethereum because I believe in where they're heading long term. But let me be clear, I know this is risky, and it could all go to zero. Only put in what you're 100% okay with losing. So that's the 5-step paycheck routine. Separate your wants from your needs. Build up a high-interest emergency fund. Pay down high-interest debt fast. Invest automatically and steadily in a tax-advantaged account. And finally, put a small chunk into higher-risk, higher-reward opportunities. If you're still reading, you've got a system now, a real blueprint. But a blueprint alone doesn't do anything. The real question is, what are you going to do now? Will you just nod along and forget about all this by tomorrow? Or will you actually start using these steps and take charge of your financial future? That's up to you. I'm here if you need help along the way. If you're curious about why your net worth starts to take off after you save your first $100,000, check out the video right here. It's honestly a pretty wild idea, and I think you'll find it super motivating. But before you go, I've got a quick favor to ask. If this video helped you see your money in a new way, do me a solid and hit subscribe. It's free, it helps the channel grow, and you'll never miss another practical tip about building wealth. And hey, if you know someone, a friend, family member, or coworker who keeps struggling with their paycheck, send this video their way. Text it to them. Throw it up on your social media. Whatever works. You could really help them break out of that paycheck to paycheck cycle. Oh, and don't forget to hit like while you're at it. That small click actually helps a ton of people discover these videos. Thanks for watching, for sticking around, and for being serious about your financial future. I'm Michael, and I'll catch you in the next one.